Hi everyone, it's Bob and Fran, and we believe that the biggest key to healthy aging is healthy eating.
So if you're new to a plant-based diet, thinking about it, or if you are plant-based already, this video will benefit you. It's all about how we shop for food, and it's packed with tips and ideas that we would like to share with you.
It all starts with intention. That is to shop for lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains instead of buying any meat, poultry, eggs, dairy products, and highly processed foods. So we've made a list of items that we're going to go through one at a time. And so I would advise you, if you can, to take some notes or replay this video, but try to nail down as many as you can, and hopefully you'll implement them and you'll find them very useful. So the first one says eliminate whites. And so I remember that in our book we talked a little bit about keeping the whites out of sight. So what does that mean exactly?
Well, we're referring to bread, rice, flour, sugar, and salt.
They're all white.
And they're all refined and don't have much of any nutritional value. So we say to keep the white out of sight and instead buy only whole grain, high fiber foods. Whole wheat bread, brown rice, whole wheat flour, sugar. Refined sugar is not good for you, but there are other alternatives that are much healthier. And of course, salt we say use very sparingly, if at all. And when you do use it, we recommend Himalayan sea salt because that has some nutrients in it as opposed to refined salt.
Refined salt would be like common
just plain old
table
white salt that you see in a restaurant.
Yeah. So you mentioned whole grains, and so with regard to whole grains, doesn't whole grains kind of relate to high fiber?
Absolutely. There are so many contradictory thoughts out there about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are really good for you if you choose high fiber carbs, because like for us, we eat a lot of food and we do not gain weight because we're eating high fiber whole grain carbs. So that's the best kind for you.
Well, the next item on our list is to buy organic when possible, especially with corn and soy products.
Yeah, let me explain that. I realize, and we don't buy everything organic, except when it comes to corn and soy. And the reason for that is because from our research, we have discovered that as much as 95% of all corn and soy grown in the United States is genetically modified. That's GMO. I don't know what you think about GMOs. We prefer not to consume them. We're not sure if they're harmful, but we don't want to take any chances, okay? So, when possible, buy organic, especially corn and soy. Now, understand that almost every processed food, in a bottle or a jar, has some form of corn. It could be called corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. They use many different names, but that's all GMO corn. So it's best to avoid those. And when it comes to soy, for example, we use a lot of tofu. And all the tofu that I've seen sold in this country is organic, so that's not a problem.
So moving on with our list, we talk about reading food labels.
Yeah, I got to share this one with you. I always say what the front gives you, the back takes away. For example, many times on the front of a bottle or a jar or a box, it'll say natural, low fat. It sounds like it's really healthy, but look at the ingredients on the back. That's what counts. Here's what I suggest you look for on labels. Whenever possible, look for the V, which is vegan, the vegan logo. You may see it'll say non-GMO verified, which is usually a little butterfly. Look for whole grain as opposed to light or natural or multigrain. Those really don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Again, look for organic, especially soy and corn.
What about like cans of food?
Okay. Until recently, there were really, the thing that I'm most concerned about is tomatoes, because tomatoes are very acidic. And so I used to buy my tomatoes either in a box or a glass jar.
When you couldn't get fresh.
Yeah, or I wasn't using fresh for a particular recipe. But now a lot of tomatoes are being canned in non-BPA lined cans. That BPA is a chemical that you want to avoid because the acid from tomatoes makes that leach into the food.
So does it say
It says non-BPA right on the can.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay.
So,
And again, avoid being fooled by words like light, natural, multigrain, low fat. That's often false marketing.
so the first thing I know, I've been shopping with you. Fran does most all of the shopping, but I tag along here and there, and I see that you every time you pick up a can or something, you're always looking at the label
Yes,
first.
absolutely.
I think that's a really good idea.
Another thing that I have learned is that when you find a product that you like and the ingredients look satisfactory, and you continue to buy that product over time, every now and then look at the label again. I have found that sometimes the ingredients change. So you pretty much have to be your own detective, okay?
So let's move on to another thing we should avoid, and that's called
Can you pronounce it?
casein.
Casein.
That's spelled Casein. So I know a little bit about casein, but Fran knows a lot more.
Casein is found in dairy products, especially in cheese. Cheese, of course, you know that all dairy products, we're talking about, we're the only animals on the planet that I know of that drink the milk of another animal. And so we found that dairy products are really not healthy. And of course, being whole food plant-based, we don't consume any dairy products anymore. But so many people have trouble giving up cheese when they go plant-based. And the reason for this is because when the cheese is being made, the water is being removed from it to make it more dense, and the casein is more powerful, it's stronger, it's extremely addictive. And so that's why we say to avoid casein, because we feel that it's harmful and very addictive.
So the next thing on our list, it says, go a little nutty.
Well, we're always a little nutty. So when we say go a little nutty, we mean to eat whole, nuts and seeds that are raw, like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, pecans, almonds, but eat them sparingly. And especially if you have a heart problem, you would want to avoid eating nuts because they do have fat in them. But it's a healthy fat because you're getting fiber with them. We also recommend that you buy legumes and lots of beans. Now, I know most people like to buy raw beans and cook them, but we tend to go the easier route, and I buy organic canned beans, which I drain and rinse before using.
Mm-hmm. So you get a little bean crazy and a little nutty at the same time. And so let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is FAT.
Okay.
Fat. That's why we don't eat animals.
We don't use oil.
Right.
Okay. We always thought we were eating really healthy, but I was using quite a bit of olive oil for cooking, for salad dressing, and had no idea that it was in any way harmful. But oil is the most condensed form of calories with the least amount of nutritional value, and especially bad if you do have a heart condition. So we stopped using oil about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. We don't miss it.
Don't miss it, but even though neither of us had a weight problem, we each lost about 10 pounds without eating less food, because oil is such a high calorie food, if you want to even call it a food. So I want you to know that you don't need oil, because you're getting enough fat from your foods, your regular foods, your healthy foods, foods that have fiber in them.
So how would you, if you don't use oil, how would you like saute vegetables, for example?
I keep a bottle of water next to the stove, and I use water or vegetable broth for sauteing, and it's never a problem. It doesn't change the taste of the food, and of course it doesn't add any calories.
What about salad dressings? They're so, I've picked up jars in the store.
It's 99.9%
it's
oil.
all oil.
Yeah, okay.
So what do we do there?
Yeah.
I know you make your own.
Yeah, there's many fat-free salad dressings that you can make. You can get the recipes, and I think some of them are even on
They're on the website.
But I also want you to know, if you don't want to make your own, there are 2 or 3 commercial brands on the market that are oil-free.
We like the brand California Balsamic. It's really good salad dressing.
It's just balsamic vinegar with different spices in them. It's delicious.
So next on our list is about drinking water. So if you go to a supermarket, which I do here and there, I see in an aisle, maybe half of a whole aisle full of bottled water.
Plastic bottled water.
And so I want to tell you, not to steal Fran's thunder here, but I strongly urge you to consider eliminating buying any of that water in clear plastic bottles. I don't think the water's that great, and I think it's dangerous. Those trucks have been in the sun, and the sun is it leaches the chemicals from the plastic, and it's just really something to avoid. We also suggest, talking about water, if you can drink water that contains no fluoride, that's the best way to go. We actually use a water filtering system ourselves. It's kind of a tabletop system to eliminate fluoride.
Yeah, just as a point of information, if you have a refrigerator with a water filter, that doesn't remove fluoride. So you need to go to reverse osmosis. And that's what we did.
So another thing, I said about half the aisle was water bottles. The other half was like soda pop, and canned in cans and in bottles. Soda pop is one of the worst things you can drink. These colored waters and sparkling beverages are very unhealthy. There's no nutrition in these at all, and we would ask you to just take a pass on those soft drinks.
They're either loaded with sugar or they're loaded with artificial sweeteners, which in either case is not good for you.
I know for dinner tonight we're having falafel.
Right.
And as a side dish, I said, what are you going to serve with a falafel platter? Fran makes this beautiful Israeli falafel dish. And you said you were going to use farro.
Yeah.
Farro. So farro is a grain that we just started using about a year or two ago.
Right.
And she cooks it up with some mushrooms, and
onions.
Oh my God, it's so good. So experimenting with grains is a
so
lot of fun.
Many grains out there. There's some that we haven't even tried yet.
Oh yeah, we're still experimenting.
That's in addition to rice and pasta. There's quinoa, which really isn't a grain, it's a seed, but it acts like a grain. And
It's
of course, the
it's
farro.
delicious.
And there's buckwheat, and there's
Barley.
there's barley. There's so many different grains to choose from. So have fun with it. Try different things.
I think the same goes for vegetables. Sometimes you get stuck in the mud, and you buy the same vegetables. So Fran sort of surprises me when she gets home with her grocery haul.
What do we
and
have
there's
this
some
time?
unusual looking fruits or vegetables. So it's kind of fun to try and experiment with. Fran, let me ask you, what would be your advice to people watching when they're in their supermarket and they see various food substitutes for the real thing, like substitute milks, meats, and cheese as well?
We personally use almond milk, unsweetened almond milk, which is fine for cereal and for cooking. We don't use any store-bought substitute cheese because they're very high in fat. And you can go to our website, and there's a couple of really excellent low-fat cheese recipes, a Parmesan cheese recipe and a creamy cheese recipe. They're both great.
They taste like the real deal.
And the cheese recipe is terrific for macaroni and cheese or for putting on a baked potato or however you want to use it. Now, as far as the substitute meats, we would suggest that you not use them very often, if at all, because they are highly processed and they do contain a lot of fat. So if you can avoid them, that would be great. And the last thing that we want to tell you about is protein, because the question that we are asked invariably is, where do you get your protein? Well, I say we get our protein from the same place that animals get theirs, and that is from plants. You have to understand that there's protein in plants, and when an animal eats a plant, and they all eat plants, and you eat an animal, you're getting secondhand protein. So we say go straight to the source. Eat plants.
Well, that about completes our list of shopping habits that we wanted to pass on to you. Let us know in the comments section if you have any ideas that we could add to our list and share with other people, or any ideas that you heard today that you kind of like that you will try. Also, we appreciate your subscribing to our channel, you know that. And if you could share this video with others, that would really skyrocket your karma. So we'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thanks for coming. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.